Welcome to The Explainer. Trying to foster real game-changing innovation inside a company can feel impossible, right? It's like you're just waiting around for lightning to strike. But here's the thing. What if it's not about waiting? What if it's actually about building a better lightning rod? Well, that's what we're going to dig into.
So let's start with the billion-dollar question, and I mean that literally. Why do some of these huge, successful companies, packed with brilliant people, just fail to innovate? They suddenly lose their edge and get left behind. It's not because they run out of money or smart people. So what is really going on here?
I mean, this slide lays it out in black and white. On one side, you've got these titans, Polaroid, Nokia, Yahoo, who just couldn't make the leap. And on the other, you have a company like Netflix that has completely reinvented itself, not once, but multiple times. The difference between these two columns, it isn't just about business strategy. It's about an ability to act on new ideas. And that comes from something much, much deeper.
And here's the secret. It's not some ridiculously complex business theory that's locked away in a vault. Nope. It all comes down to a really simple, really powerful truth about how we as people actually work.
And that simple truth brings us right here, to the core idea of this whole explainer, the environment equation. The companies that win, the ones that innovate again and again, they get this. They know that if you want to change what people do, you first have to change the world they're doing it in.
It all comes down to this powerful little formula from social psychologist Kurt Lewin. B equals F of P comma E. Or behavior is a function of a person in their environment. For decades, companies have poured all their energy into the P, trying to hire innovative people. But the real power, the true lever for change, has always been the E, the environment.
And this quote just says it all. If you want to change a behavior, like, say, encouraging more innovation, your biggest, most powerful tool is always the environment. It's not about yelling at people to be more creative. It's about building a space where being creative is just the natural thing to do.
So this means your role has to change completely. You stop being a scout, desperately searching the world for these rare creative geniuses, and instead you become an architect, someone who intentionally designs a space where new ideas aren't just allowed, but are actually expected and encouraged to grow.
Okay, so if we're going to be architects, where do we start? Well, first, we have to find the problems. We have to diagnose what's broken. Every single organization has these invisible walls that kill good ideas. Let's look at the three biggest culprits. The first one is a huge one, the barrier to sponsorship. Just think about the life of a brand new, fragile little idea. Before it can ever get to a real sponsor, someone who can actually say, yes, let's do this, it has to survive this gauntlet of gatekeepers. And with every single review, every let me run this up the chain, the idea gets a little more friction, and the original spark starts to fade.
And that leads directly to our second problem, the barrier to information. The best ideas usually come from a deep understanding of a customer's real problems. But what happens when that knowledge is trapped? In so many companies, it's stuck in silos. So if your sales team holds 80% of that critical customer insight, how on earth is an engineer or someone in marketing supposed to come up with the next big thing? They can't.
And barrier number 3 is something the source calls intensity dial-up. Sound familiar? It's that feeling when the organization is so hyper-focused on hitting today's numbers, on the relentless pace of daily work, that there's just no oxygen left in the room for new ideas. If all you hear is, "we're too busy," or innovation is treated like some side project that's separate from the real work, well, you can bet this barrier is suffocating your progress.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the barriers. Now it's time for the fun part, the architect's work. We're going to start building the accelerators. See, it's not enough to just remove the bad stuff. We have to proactively build a system that actively pulls good ideas forward.
So, a really powerful system for this has 3 simple steps. First, surfacing. You have to create safe, scalable ways for ideas to pop up from anyone, anywhere with zero judgment. Then, building. You connect that person and their idea with coaches and experts who help shape the idea, not shoot it down. And finally, investing. You need a clear, transparent process for deciding which ideas actually get funded and get real resources.
And if you think this is all just theory, I've got 2 words for you. Post-it note. This is the perfect real-world example. A scientist at 3M accidentally created a super weak adhesive. It was, for all intents and purposes, a failure. But, and this is the key, because 3M had a culture, an environment for surfacing and building on these weird little ideas, it eventually found its home as a reusable bookmark. And it became one of the most successful office products in history.
So, we've looked at the problem, we've seen the core principle, and we have a path to a solution. Now let's bring this all back home. What does this actually mean for you? Well, it's time to start shifting your own mindset from just being an employee or a manager to being an innovation architect.
I want you to let this quote sink in, because it should be your new guiding star. We're all taught to think that innovation has to be this heroic, painful struggle. But what if that's wrong? What if the real goal was to make it easy? What if you could design an environment where coming up with a new idea was simply the path of least resistance? That, right there, is the whole game. So let's wrap this all up. It's time to stop spending all our energy on the P, the person. It's time to start focusing on the E, the environment. The goal is not to go out and find a handful of creative geniuses. The real goal is to build an environment where the genius that's already inside everyone can finally come out and contribute.
Becoming an architect doesn't happen overnight. It starts by removing a single brick from a wall. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Whether you're a leader or a member of a team, what is the one single barrier to sponsorship, to information, or that intensity dial-up that you can start working on removing tomorrow?